actually a book written. I think it's in 1987, but don't quote me on the year. The guy's name is Richard Drinnen, and the title is Keeper of Concentration Camps, because in one of the really ugly ironies of history, the guy that runs the War Relocation Authority, his name is Dylan Meyer, when the war's done, actually steps over to the Bureau of Native Affairs and is running the reservation system. So there is almost a direct connection in that way. But, actually during the war, it might have struck you as weird in that really quick history of the war that I gave you, that Japanese Americans were so disloyal that we had to throw them all into camps. And then almost as soon as they're in camps, the government's trying to get them out of camps. Fight for your country. And in part, that's because the government, almost as soon as Japanese Americans start showing up in the concentration camps, the argument they start making to each other, not the Japanese Americans, the government officials to each other, is that if we don't move Japanese Americans out of these camps, they will become permanent reservations like we have for Native Americans. And we don't want that to happen. So almost immediately to your question, government officials were making a connection between Native American reservations and the camps they were building for Japanese Americans, and were trying to kind of course correct for them. Again, the book is Keeper of Concentration Camps if you want to read the really detailed, in-depth exploration of those kinds of connections.
So if they realized that that was going to happen and they were trying to stop that from happening, why do you think they wouldn't try to fix that with native reservations already?
I think that, and this is a very long and complicated history that Mr. Gribos would be happy to know. I'm now teaching a survey class on U.S. environmental history that does hopefully all with Native Americans that he was always telling me that I needed to do. So progress, John, and you got to give me credit for that. What I would say about Native Americans is that the government had been trying on different solutions for a long time. It had never been able to find the right one. So that, like, we see in the history of white Native American relations, kind of the shifting back and forth between reservations, between assimilation, between kind of forcing them into mainstream society versus respecting their traditions. And I think that while a small handful of government officials kind of saw the contradiction or the similarity and the contradiction between the two groups, most Americans didn't. And most Americans kind of assumed kind of a racial inferiority that they felt kind of handcuffed them in the way that they were able, or it handcuffed what they were able to do or not with Native Americans. They will try new policies after the war with Native Americans. They're not going to do well.